Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If for some reason that bar disappears down there, all they have to do is just push the window button one time. Yep.
Okay.
Well, it'll be good to go.
All right, good evening. If I can have everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Good evening. I think the best part of that pledge of allegiance is our friends over here in the audience. Thank you very much. All right, we're gonna move right on to item 1B, consent agenda. Many of you, just for the public, I'll just speak on it very briefly. Have probably noticed our agenda is going to be set up from here on out a little bit differently. And it's really to move through some items that we generally do piece by piece, in a consent fashion. It's very common on other boards. But at any given time, if there's continued discussion on an item that is in the consent agenda item, we can actually pull it right out. We don't have to keep everything in that agenda, but allows us to kind of get through some of the nuanced items a little bit quicker. But at any given time, anyone at the table can certainly pull that out. So just if you guys take a look at the agenda and noted the change up, that's what it is.
I move that the consent agenda for the November 13th, 2023 regular meeting be approved, which includes the adjustment of policy 0166 agenda as presented.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mrs. Shaw. Discussion? Really quickly, Mrs. Coleman, would you just like to talk about policy 0166?
Sure, yeah, the change for that it's our agenda policy, and the change is minor. It's only taking out the specific agenda item number reference for call to the public. Previously, call to the public had always been, I think it was item 1E or something, and now since we're using this consent agenda, it will no longer be in that same spot. So we're just taking out that reference to 1E. That's a change.
Awesome. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gobleski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Wandeel.
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Moving on to item 1C, superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. Again, welcome our round friends. For the public, if you don't know, I noticed you're really good at the Pledge of Allegiance. We do offer the Pledge of Allegiance in all of our buildings every morning, all the way up through the high school. And so that is available every day for all of our students. So obviously you've been practicing, so good job.
Sorry, Mr. Hughes, can I interrupt? Could we still do the introduction of the new employee?
Yeah.
This is part of this report.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So let's bring Miss Hodham and her friends up to the podium for happenings at Round Elementary School.
So this is the staff at Round, this picture. We're really excited to be able to share a glimpse of what's happening at Round and celebrate a few of our special programs. We have all of these folks here, but there's also several teachers from Round in the audience. Came to offer support. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna start with Mr. C. Mr. C is our head watchdog dad at Round, and he's gonna tell you a little bit about what he does and what the program is.
Good evening, everybody. So as Ms. Hodam said, yes, I am the one of the runners of the Watchdogs program, Dads of Great Students. This program is about showing fatherly influence and presence within our building, or if you want to branch out, buildings. And we kind of act as another layer of eyeballs within the school, outside of the school safety officer. So in that aspect, making sure kids aren't wandering off, making sure they're going to class, things of that nature. We read with students, we do activities with them. I was actually given permission to share this story about a student, just keeping his name anonymous. When I returned to volunteer last year, I had recently found out that his father passed away. So I kind of made it my little side mission while I was there volunteering to do an activity with him every single week. And so over time, we've kind of built a little bond, and with Ms. Hodam's permission and the permission of the mom and the student, I will actually be returning for him next year as his watchdog. So, but it's a really good program. I think it has been very beneficial for other students too. I've had students help me build tables. And I remember sometime earlier this year, I had students like, Mr. C, you have tables to build? You have tables to build? So I'm like, not today, guys. But it definitely helps motivate, and students they're all about it. So it's a really good program, and I very much hope that it goes district wide. So, yep.
One of the other things that's really great about Watchdogs is they spend a lot of time on our playground, and so they're very good at helping students with sportsmanship, which I much appreciate. And I also have to do a shout out to Mr. C because he became an employee of EduStaff, and he now paraprofessionals in the district. And we had another watchdog that is going back to school to be a teacher, so very cool. All right. So next up is K-Kids, and we have several adults who help with K-Kids. Mrs. Vincent, who teaches 3rd grade, Mrs. Shelley Gordonier, who does intervention at Brown, and Mrs. Gearhart, who teaches special ed, and then of course, Mr. Sarkella, fabulous parent of ours. So they're going to tell you about K-Kids.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Vincent, and as Mrs. Hodam said, I teach 3rd grade at Round. Last year, our 3rd grade began what we just called Kindness Club. We met once a week during our 3rd grade lunch and recess. We made care packages for our bus drivers. We made posters to encourage the 3rd and 4th graders at M-Step time, and we helped at 1st grade lunches. We also started what we called Friendly Fridays, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then last spring, Mr. Sarkella, who's a dad at our school, contacted Mrs. Hodam to see if we'd be interested in starting a K-Kids group. Chris works in South Lyon and is a member of the Kiwanis Club there. He also works with the high school version of Kiwanis Club called Key Club. So his daughter Ava was in 1st grade last year and wanted to start K-Kids at Round. I'm going to have Ava tell you a little bit about why she wanted this for Round.
Hi, my name is Ava Sarkella, and I'm the president of K-Kids at Round Elementary. I wanted to say thank you to Ms. Vincent, Ms. Gordonier, and Ms. Gerhardt for helping the K-Kids at Round Elementary possible. I would also like to recognize the South Lyon Kiwanis Club for charting our club. K-Kids is the largest service leadership for elementary school students. It's more than 1,200 clubs worldwide. Our club currently has 50 members. At our meetings and events, we learn leadership through our service. I wanted to start K-Kids Club at our school so that we could have fun and have an opportunity to serve our community. I spent a lot of time with my dad at his Kiwanis Club and wanted to be able to do similar projects here at our school. So far this year, we have given candy and played games with our seniors, collected over 1,000 loaves of bread for gleaners, and made holiday cards for veterans. We are looking forward to doing more service projects throughout the year. Thank you for your time today.
Hi, I'm Amelia Ernest, and I am Vice President of K-Kids at Round. As Ava said, we have 50 members in grade 2nd through 4th. In addition to the bigger community projects Ava mentioned, we have several ongoing projects at Round. Our K-Kids help prepare bags for school breakfast. Our kitchen staff is so grateful for the kiddos who skip their recesses to put napkins, straws, and plasticware into bags. Most morning, our cafeteria serves breakfast to more than 150 students. K-Kids help speed up the process so those students can be served in a timely manner and sent to class. We also have our greeting game. Last year, we started with Friendly Fridays. We have students who have pom-poms and cheer as our students enter the building. We love Friendly Fridays. However, we have people say, "Why are you only out there on Fridays?" We love Fridays. We need some excitement on Mondays. So now we have Merry Mondays and Friendly Fridays. The K-Kids organized into 2 lines facing each other, creating a tunnel of pom-poms. We cheer and play music as the students enter.
So our greeting gang at first was worried about some of our kiddos who don't do well with loud situations. But once they see us, they're often smiling and very eager to enter the building. So I gathered some quotes of what people are saying about our greeting gangs. These are non-K-Kid members and what they think about us. One student said, "It brings you up when you're feeling down." Another said, "It's funny and it's fun to laugh. It's like they're cheering us on, so we're gonna do a good job today. It's a nice way to start the morning. It makes me feel welcome and safe. It makes me proud to go here." Another said, "If you're new, you'll know it's going to be a good time here." And my personal favorite, "It's a fun vibe. I love going through the tunnel." K-Kids is an amazing program for our students. We're so excited to have 50 sign up for our first year. We have since done away with our former kindness club because K-Kids can include more grades. And we're teaching children ways to be kind and think of others. We're doing this within the walls of our school and into the community. I wish you all could have seen them interacting and playing board games with the retirees at Village Manor. They're begging to go back and see their new friends. This group is rewarding for the students, but it's also rewarding for us as advisors.
And finally, to share about Round is our fabulous PTO. We have Mrs. Zacko, Mrs. Lukowitz, and Mrs. Elkins to share some of their work at Round.
Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be here. Excuse me. I'm very excited to have a chance to tell you guys a little bit about what our PTO does. Because I think that we have the best board around, hands down. And actually, I do want to point out that my treasurer, Michelle Slater, is also here. So this is about half of our board. So we're going to start by telling you guys about 3 separate things we do. I'm going to start with some fundraisers and PTO events that we do throughout the year. So our biggest fundraiser of the year, the Fall Fun Run, it brings in a substantial amount of money, enough so that we can provide funding for items throughout the school, supplement field trips, and host fun and family-friendly events throughout the school year. So I do have a little bit to say about the Fun Run because we just kind of finished wrapping it up. Our Fall Fun Run is 2 weeks of fundraising, a lot more goes into it, but 2 weeks of fundraising with prizes provided by the PTO for registering, hitting monetary tiers, and raffle tickets for every $30 raised per student to be entered into a drawing to win 5 amazing prizes per grade. So it's a big incentive for these kids. They want to fundraise, they want their raffle tickets, they want a chance to win. Then we have tiered school-wide incentives as we get closer to the goals. So this year, the PTO provided Kona Ice for the day of the event, popcorn and bounce houses for the entire school. The 3 top earners in the school also get to choose from a popcorn and movie party, pizza party, or ice cream sundae party that is provided by PTO. Our top 3 earning students from each classroom, so 19 classrooms, also get to participate in the final assembly when the school hits its fundraising goal. So this year we got to color blacks Mrs. Hotham. So
We don't have a picture of that.
I'm.
Get it on the next slide.
Oh, okay. That's like you leave that off on purpose. After the fun run and all of the classroom parties and all of the assemblies, we move into trunk or treat. We do a teacher boo to let them know we appreciate all their help with the fundraising because we couldn't do it without them. We do we provide dinner for the teachers on their conference night. We're gearing up for Santa Shop, cookie walk, which is for the staff. We have parents that can bring in cookie and baked goods and the staff gets to pick what they like. We have our winter glow dance party that will be coming up in January. Roller skate nights will start next month for the rest of the year monthly. We're trying to bring back the science night for 2024. We do a ladies' night out in the spring, Sioux Celebration, a book fair, our Round Rocks talent show and auction, and then in May we be back the Teacher Appreciation Week, and then another fun thing we do is spirit sticks and birthday grams. So that's what our year looks like. And now Heather's gonna tell you guys a little bit about our field trip.
Yes, the exciting field trip portion. So the PTO actually voted to increase the field trip budget per grade. And this was to help families offset the cost and make it more attainable so we could bring these trips back and include all of the kids. Field trips that have come back in this past year and also upcoming is the Variety Farms Pumpkin Field, where we can provide the pumpkins to the kids. Spicer's Orchard, the Planetarium, Soup's Exotic Jungle, the Plant Guy, Castaway Cafe, and the 4th grade pool and library trip for, I think it's usually around Christmas.
I'm going to speak about the purchases and reimbursements that we offer. So the PTO is able to provide purchases and reimbursements because of our generous families. We provide improvements around the school for the benefits of all of our students. Some recent purchases that we have made, the Chromebook carts, the PTO has been able to supplement full Chromebook carts for the upper grades, so 3rd and 4th grade classrooms, in addition to the 5 carts provided by the district, along with 8 mounted wall units per classroom per grade. Currently, we are working on wall mounted units for 1st grade classrooms as well. We've done pole covers outside of the awning, so if you see the respect and commitment and those that are out there, those are purchased by our PTO. The rug on the front entrance of the school, shelves and books for classrooms, books to supplement classroom libraries, specific guide reading library books supplemental because of our book fair. The book bags for our kindergartners, piano for our music room, light table for the art room, mileage club. So if you ever see a kid sporting a necklace full of feet, those are pretty proud emblems at Round. And those are given per mile that the kids run. And those feet are provided by our PTO. New toys for all kindergarten classrooms, playground equipment. PTO has purchased the last 2 years, the spider climbing wall, the honeycomb for the playground. We are working on the ninja wall, and our new soccer net should be delivered tomorrow. So our PTO offers nearly $200 in reimbursements to all 30 staff members, over 30 staff members. So we feel like our PTO, we're very proud of our families and the continued support that we continue to be able to provide our kids at Round.
And before you change pictures, kids, who's the guy in the middle up there?
Oh, that's Mr. Fluhart. That's our SSO, standing in front of some of the inflatables that the PTO purchased for celebration for the kids.
I hear he's out there a lot playing with you and
he spends his morning out front. He spends midday on the playground. We have 100 students out on the playground for 2 straight hours, and he is out there with them. And then he is, did I say he was out front at the beginning of the day? Yes, okay, at the end of the day too. He's out there at the end of the day. In addition to walking around and checking doors, and I have him view a lot of security camera footage for me. It's just super nice. So yes, but all of those things in the picture, the honeycomb and the spider web, PTO purchased those. The chairs for the courtyard, those big boy chairs are actually for swimming pools, but they're marvelous outside in our courtyard, and we have hooks out there. Maintenance put hooks out there so we can leave them out there, and they dry fast because they're pool friendly. Those shelves, the black shelves, you'll see those in all of the classrooms at Round. The PTO has been helping me for several years to get some sturdy metal shelving. And sort of makes all of our classrooms look the same instead of whatever somebody could pick up at IKEA. And the fellow up there in the corner is the plant guy. They paid for him to come recently. And then, oh, I didn't put the color out of me on there. Well, it'll be in community life, so you'll see it there. But there's just some more fun things. That's trunk or treat. And in the corner, those are the high schoolers. They come and read the football team to our students, so that's pretty fun. So that's round.
Thank you all for visiting us tonight. We really appreciate you.
And they're all leaving because they want to go
Yes,
home.
go home.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. They're not being rude. They want to go home.
I want to give a quick shout out to the two young ladies that spoke in front of this crowd. You guys did great, great. You're so great.
Last year, we started a regular, after each season athletic, presentation. So our new athletic director, Brian Hassler, is here to carry on the legacy of presenting after each season. So Brian, it's yours.
Thank you, board, for allowing me the opportunity. We're gonna get this started with video.
Don't mess around too much because Renee's got it.
There we go.
All right.
Just to give you an example of what the board and the bond kind of provided for our football team and our sports programs this year with the new scoreboard. It's an awesome opportunity for us to be able to highlight our student athletes, provide to the community, and give a really great game day experience. So fall athletics by the number. We have 12 varsity programs, 3 middle school programs in the fall, 27 total teams. For high school, we had 415 participants. 10th through 12th, that was 299, and we had 116 incoming freshmen that participated in sports. Middle school programs, we had 81 participants. So the sports were cheer sideline, cross-country boys, cross-country girls, field hockey, football, golf girls, pom-pom sideline, swim dive girls, soccer boys, soccer unified, tennis boys, volleyball. And then for middle school, we had both cross-country boys, girls, and volleyball. One of the main things, again, is we're our student athletes, and the excellence in the classroom continued. I remember last year when I came here, I got to see JD's presentation, and I know this is one of his big points. The Heartland Scholar Athlete Award winner goes to any student athlete that has a 3.0 GPA or higher. This doesn't include freshmen because they don't have the marks yet. So this is 218 of our student athletes of the 299, 10th through 12th had a 3.0 GPA or higher. That's 73%. KLA Scholar Athlete Award winners, 3.25. Again, this is 10th grade or higher, 66%. So I think those numbers say a lot about our student athletes and what they're doing in the classroom and what our teachers are doing to help athletics. One of the great things that I get to do as a athletic director is signing day. We just recently on November 8th, which was the first day that you could sign, we had a fall signing day. So this year we kind of did a group signing day in the media center. We had 13 members of the class of 2024 signed NLI letters to play athletics at the collegiate level. We have more coming. We're going to do another signing day in the spring. So we do have some more athletes that are coming as they're making those decisions. I'm going to go through this real quick. College signing photos. So Aspen Smith, Morehead State University for cheer. Cam Herman, Michigan Tech University for volleyball. Caitlin Schramm, Otterbein University for volleyball. Samantha Baker, Cleveland State University for soccer. Emma Castano, Northern Michigan University for soccer. Katie Swarchek, Northern Michigan University for soccer. Mackenzie Jordan, Concordia University for golf. Sarah Rakowski, Western Michigan University for basketball. Drew Diskowski for Long Island University for women's hockey. And now the Northwood pipeline for our lacrosse team starts. We have Dylan Aote, David Bullock, Northwood University, Drew Lockwood, Northwood University, and Jacob Ross, Northwood University. I always tell the student athletes, I go, one of the great things about that event is that when you get to sign, you're trading the next 4 years for the next 40 years. You're going to go, you're going to meet friends that are going to stand up in your wedding, that are going to be a part of your life. You're going to have coaches and opportunities. So I think it's a great honor for them. And it's a way for us to recognize them. Unified soccer this past year. Coach Lauren DePestil does a great job. She was assisted by Taylor Wagner, our softball coach teacher. They played a 4-game regular season schedule, including a game on the main field under the lights. Unified tournament was in Brighton this year. The special education athletes receive a Heartland varsity letter. Their partners receive special unified patches for their varsity jacket. Some exciting news upcoming for the unified program. The basketball team is going to be at Little Caesars Arena on March 17th after a Pistons game. So it's kind of a cool opportunity, and I know some of the students are pretty excited for that. Student achievement, student success, fall of 2023. I just heard this line recently in a meeting that I had with Superintendent Hughes, so I wanted to pull it out. Girls swim and dive, we had 1 diver qualified for the MHSA state finals. Volleyball, we had a great pink out night where they raised money for a Lashbrook scholarship, former coach. First district title in over 40 years. We're still digging through the books because it might be the first district title ever. But according to the Livingston Daily, there was one 40 years ago. So sideline cheer had a phenomenal high and night performance, including some of our youth in the community. Football, not that we encourage this, but during the gold out, they did one of the honorary captains taught them a celebration that they did at the game. They got a penalty for it. We don't encourage it, but it was a pretty cool opportunity for them to honor their one of the captains that was at the game, the honorary captains. Reading to elementary students. The Battle of M59, we brought that home with our victory over Howell. Howell, actually, their coaches found a sign in the locker room that had been there probably 20 years. And it goes back and forth of like signing. They had all their victories on there for some odd reason, but not ours. So we're going to go back and we're going to add those on there. Now it's something that's going to travel between the 2 schools. So it's kind of a cool opportunity there. Boys soccer had their biggest youth night to date. It was a great fun night against Howell here. Picked up the victory there. Boys tennis had a family student athletes double event. I think another opportunity for our students and our families to get together. Girls golf, Mackenzie Jordan qualified for the MHSA state finals. Ethan Hawker was our regional coach of the year. Cross country had 4 individuals qualified for the state finals, 2 boys and 2 girls. Middle school cross country was the girls team zone 4 regional champions, 5 runners in the top 9 undefeated season. So girls cross country is looking to be having some future very bright. Pom Pom was also instrumental in the high and night performance, getting everybody included there. Some cool student leadership opportunities that we had this year. We had a KLAA leadership summit. We had 10 of our juniors that went to that. We just started this past November 3rd with our swim coach, and she's actually interning here as a social worker, former alumni Allison Pouliot, doing a Heartland athletic leadership training. So it's basically 4 classes that the kids are going. We have about 40 student athletes in there. They're kind of examining what leadership looks like, different examples of leadership. And then they go over kind of 3 separate classes where it's listening, effective listening as a leader, effective learning styles as a leader, and then leadership through athletics. So it's kind of a good opportunity for our student athletes. Chasing titles, again, we put a performance does matter, I believe. We do want to develop our student athletes, but again, it's always nice to put in that hard work and see your success. So we had our 4 student athletes there for cross country, Mackenzie Jordan for golf, and then our volleyball team with the first district title in 40 years. I think what's important too is a staff that's focused on student achievement and student success. So again, from top left, we have our doubles tournament for our families and our boys tennis team. The middle, we have our softball team that we were able to honor with the ring ceremony at the football game. To the right, we have top right, we have Abigail Goodrow, our athletic trainer, who was rewarded or awarded a life-saving certificate on one of our football games. Actually, our gold out, a staff member from Salem needed life-saving measures in our press box, and she was there to perform that and actually get him home safe because of that. So it was pretty cool to be able to reward her and acknowledge her efforts. Bottom left is our cheer coach, Candace Farr. We were just actually yesterday at the Michigan High School Coaches Association. She won the Coach of the Year for cheer. The middle here, we have Gary Strait, who's the MITCA Assistant Coach of the Year for track. And then bottom right is Ethan Hawker, who's the Regional Coach of the Year for golf. So a lot of our coaches, a lot of our staff members that are pouring into our student athletes, and it really helps a lot. Roll the credits. I have to say, stepping into this position, obviously it's a great opportunity. I love being here, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that do so much that I have to give credit to. Liz Strait, we just mentioned her husband, so I said I'm going to save you after your husband. Is my administrative assistant. She does a phenomenal job. Mary Retchel, the event coordinator. Without her, these football games, she coordinates over 25 plus people, gets them going, does a great job. Melanie Call, our website coordinator. I have to say, I love stats as an athletic director. I was looking at some of the stats, just what she's been able to do in some of our social media. The numbers have been great through the roof of us being able to interact with the community and let people know what we're doing and promote our student athletes. Deb Cadman, concession stands coordinator. Michelle Pollock did an awesome job. She does sponsorships for us. And a lot of these individuals, I'll say, have other jobs outside of athletics, and they're doing those as well too. She does the game day meal for the staff. Coaches that are involved: Wade Foster, Matt Gutteridge, Taylor Wagner help out at football games. Teachers, Aaron Bell and Chris Foster, the voice of Heartland and Running the Clock. Staff, Carrie Reese and Jennifer Seog, that are there taking tickets, working events, and then facilities and transportation. They did a phenomenal job this year getting our games fields ready, getting our teams to places they needed to be, and then cleaning up afterwards. When everybody else is long gone, they're still there, when the lights are about to be turned off, and making the facilities look great. That's it. Any questions?
Brian, I appreciate that you, as a new member to our culture and our team as administrators, and you picked up very quickly on the number one goal we have across the district is student achievement, student success. Competitive, highly competitive in all facets of what we do, and pushing that envelope on a regular basis. And without an administrative team like yourself and the great coaches and staff, we couldn't push our kids the way we do. And our kids are showing it that they can succeed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, if you come up, and Matt Marino, and Matt will, again, he's our Director of Operations and Transportation. And Matt, if you give us a quick update on where we are with our bond projects, what might be coming up. I don't even know what you're going to talk about tonight.
It's the same thing, but. Good evening, board. I definitely do enjoy building good facilities so Brian's teams can win championships. So not much has changed since the last presentation. We are making progress on the baseball softball complex. That is anticipated to be done towards the end of November. We're slated to get our final building inspections the first week of December. But like I said, we are making progress. The restrooms are, we got it all watertight, so we could start the inside rough electrical and plumbing and heat. We did get the press box and bleachers installed, and we will be starting the concrete plaza and putting up the netting long anticipated softball netting the week of November 17th. As for the summer projects that are still out there, we are finishing up punch list items. We did have our big push of working on punch list items on the last no school day in October. And then we will be doing another push right before Thanksgiving with our final push over the December holiday break. We did make great progress over at farms. Most of the punch list is about 98% done over there. This building, the HCSC, the chiller showed up finally. So that was swung into place last week. They have to do the final electrical and plumbing connections on that chiller. And then over at Ore Creek, we are in the process of demoing that chiller out. And that one is slated to show up the end of November. So we'll get those in hopefully as the weather stays halfway decent before snowfall. And then just next round of projects, we're going fast and furious, trying to, in the design phase, trying to wrap those projects up in the design phase at the end of this week so we can get those out to bid and get those in front of you guys, the board. Again, we are working on some roofing replacements. We are working on some parking lot replacement at the high school, reconditioning some tennis courts over at the high school, and then tag teaming some sinking fund projects with the bond work for economies of scale. Replacement of the boilers, 51 building. The high school pool, we're working on a good project over the end of March, April, working with community education to shut down for approximately 6 weeks and do an overhaul of the pool. We've put quite a bit of maintenance into the pool, but it's time to kind of refurbish our 20-year investment there. So, and then tackling around, hitting the lighting replacement over there. So that's the quick update I got for you. Any questions? Cool.
And so the public knows this is our last big push. This is our last summer. We've had 4 summers. This will be 4 summers of continuous work in the district. And again, thank you to the community for supplying the bond dollars to do all these projects. So
Definitely.
thank you, Matt. All right. Next, if we could have Mr. Fitzgerald and our friend come up. Good to see you, Kim.
All right, good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mrs. Kimberly Dosey as our new business teacher at Heartland High School. We had a need with a teacher taking a leave of absence, plus some additional personal finance classes we see coming down the road that we needed Mrs. Dosey's help. She is going to be a great fit for us teaching personal finance and advanced marketing to finish the school year. Mrs. Dosey has some cool experience. She was actually a recruiter for Washtenaw Community College for some time. And so pretty cool to have that experience and now be in the classroom with our kids and get them that experience to maybe take it to that next level in our CTE and business department. And then most recently, she's been an HR human resource specialist with Ann Arbor Public Schools. And during that time, I went back to school at Eastern Michigan University to get her CTE certificate. So super excited to have her join our team, and she's going to be a great fit. So here's Kimberly Dosey.
Thank you. I just want to thank all of you. This is great. The number of people in the community support. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to student achievement and student success.
Great to have you. The last thing on the superintendent's report is the continuity of service plan. Rachel Boyce unfortunately had a family emergency and I told her to get out of here. I'd cover it. But what I wanted to share with, if you recall that Mr. Minsker has been doing every 6-month updates on ESSER and the monies that we got from the COVID recovery and also how our students were doing on benchmark assessments. So I'm just gonna read this and hopefully that takes care of the requirement by the state to continue sharing the continuity of learning plan. The ESSER funding required that districts develop a plan on how they will return to in-person instruction and describe any policies that have been adopted for a continuity learning plan within 6 months of receiving the ESSER funds. By the time we received the funds, we were back in regular person instruction. We still need to, however, document the fact that we're making this information available on our website and review that information every 6 months in order to maintain compliance with our ESSER requirement. Last year, we documented this information with Mr. Minsker's updates regarding educational goals and benchmark assessments, since the two went hand in hand. This satisfied the requirement. We still have this requirement to review and update the continuity of learning plan. I'll use that term loosely because all it says is that we deliver instruction in person or through HVA, Heartland Virtual Academy, as an option for students and families in grades 6 through 12. We have no other formal policy necessary for any types of COVID protocols. At this point, we're not recommending that we make any changes. You'll hear about this again in 6 months. Hopefully by that time, we will have spent all of our ESSER funds and we will no longer bring these reports forward. So I don't know if you have any questions. I'll try to do the best I can to answer them, or if Mr. Minster could. All right, that satisfies that requirement to bring that to the public. So ends the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. We are going to move on to item 1D. Call to the public. I just want to remind the public that speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Each speaker may be limited to 3 minutes. At the 2.5 minute mark, I will hold up my trusty yellow folder just to give you a virtual cue that you have 30 seconds left so that you can wrap things up. It is no secret, and just to remind the public that we have our very own Deputy Chuck here today. This is your warning that we will not be interrupting folks. There will be no yelling across the room. You will be asked to leave. And so everyone can conduct themselves like adults. Moving on, let me get my trusty timer out here. First up is Mary Beth Patrica. I'm so sorry if I butchered that.
So I'm Mary Beth Patricus and I'm in Brighton Township. You know, I wanted to bring up some things about the kids in the wrong bathroom. And I'd like to start off with that families are being aligned to culture instead of Christ. Now, I really feel that that's a big problem in our community, that we're not looking to God and we're looking to what's the fad, or, you know, just giving into a minority instead of looking at the majority. I remember a mom of 3 kids who spoke at one school board meeting, and she said her Ore Creek student who her daughter went to a counselor because she felt like she was a boy, and she praised the counselor because the counselor was willing to call her a boy's name instead of a girl. And then she said she wished her oldest son would have had that kind of support. So with the understanding that he feels like he was a girl. So there should be a red flag to a counselor that 2 out of 3 kids in that household are confused. You know, is there abuse going on? Is there traumatic brain injury? Is there bullying? That is the source. Giving a child the opposite sex name is like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. And we really need to help these kids. Their brain hasn't matured yet. And so these kids are going into bathrooms pretending to be someone that God did not create them to be. And that is hurting these other kids. And I'd like females on the school board to think, what if that was you in a public restroom and a man came in there and you're doing your thing in the stall and they're right next to you?
how vulnerable you would feel. Now, think of a high school girl who's in that situation. Those boys are dressing as girls, but they still have male genitalia. They still have testosterone. They're not in their right mind. They need help. What is going to prevent them from doing harm to that girl? So we need to look at that. I'm not putting them down. I'd like for these kids to get the help that they need. So, if we think of, ladies, think of yourself, and then generally speaking, think of your mom, your sisters, your nieces, your daughters, that if they're in that situation, would you want them to feel that way, to feel uncomfortable, feel like, well, I can't even use the restroom when I go to school, in fear that someone may hurt me? So I just ask you to really consider this and have counselors really talk to these kids and get to the root of the problem instead of just giving them a different name and, hey, go to whatever bathroom you can. It's not hurting, it's not helping, it's hurting the student population. Thank you.
Next, we have George Skendi.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start my discussion, Megan, I have I don't know how to say, request or something that you have to fix, because if you stay over there, we see only the screen, and you are the most important person in the school board. We don't see your face. Even spend some money and buy a higher chair or switch the place with Chuck, because you are most important than Chuck. You are the ones that elected Chuck. We want to see you guys before we see him. So please fix that issue. What I want to talk today is something that I learned, but I was thinking about a discussion with my niece, that she wants to be an advisor for the kids that finished high school and they want to go and study in different universities. And during this discussion, I asked her, why you want to do it? Why do you want to advise the kids what to do and where to go? And she said, because I'm looking to make some money. So that was the first thing that she told me. And second, since I'm finishing my graduate degree for psychology, I want to learn more by communicating with kids. What I learned from my life experience is the way how the schools, especially the college, works in the United States. For me, if you are not in the right place where you have to be, or you didn't choose the right direction where you want to go, you might end up studying for art or liberal art or whatever they call this one. And what's happened after with those students when they finish the school, they can't find a job. And it's no wonder that they are so pessimistic after. And that might be also a reason that they can go towards drugs, towards things that none of any parent wants to hear about their kids. So I have a good example from a friend of my son that finished this school about 3 years ago. And guess what? He bought a house. He is ready to get married. He has a tractor. He bought his own car, and he's working in a company they call AAA. I think that they do plumbing. Yeah, AAA plumbing. And he's learning and making money at the same time. And he told me, I'm going to close this year with $85,000 a year. So before, advice to the parents, before you send your kids into school, high school, to learn something that won't help in their life, try to see also what is over there that the college doesn't, is not necessary to go. And this is what I want to give to everybody, every parent as advice. And this is what I want to talk today. I'm all set.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Skinby.
Thank you.
Next, we have Lori, and do we have a microphone that I can take back in?
Hello, I just wanted to start off by letting you guys all know we know what you did, and these aren't for the new people on the board. We know you sold your soul to the devil when you guys took that pandemic money. When people donate money or give you money to a school, strings aren't attached. That is why the boys are coming in the girls' bathroom. And one of these days, something's gonna happen to one of these young girls, and I sure in the heck hope not. And I don't know if there's any kids in here, but we all know they can be sexually harassed and something happening to them. And you guys need to stop this now. And it's going to change pretty soon by next year. And you guys got to remember, when you took that money, it had these strings attached to it. You knew the rules and you did it anyways. So I'm here to tell you, you know that it's wrong to have anybody going in that girl's bathroom if they're not a girl, period. And that has nothing to do about being transgender or straight or anything else. I can care less what you are. But girls, that's violating what girls need to have privacy in there. They have monthly issues going on. Who would want that kind of stuff in a bathroom with a girl? And whoever does, it's demented. That is sick. So I'm here to tell you, we know you took the money. The pandemic money has all these strings attached to it. You have to follow the rules. So I'm here to tell you, you better stop it right now because this is wrong. And none of these kids need to have to worry about having to go to the bathroom and wondering if someone's looking over them. And that's all I have to say this time. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Next, we have Angela Yarber.
I'm Angela Yarber. Heartland citizens deserve transparency and clarification of November 8th weekly update related to the DOJ. Under the heading Department of Justice Update, it states that the district has worked cooperatively with the Michigan Department of the Office of Civil Rights and the United States Department of Justice. This cooperation resulted in reaching an agreement with the DOJ to meet prescribed expectations during the 2022-23 school year, including creating and reporting all incidents that involve discrimination. The update leaves me with many questions. First of all, what does it mean to create incidents? The update literally says creating and reporting all incidents that involve discrimination. Is this careless wording? Secondly, what are these prescribed expectations from the DOJ? Third, what exactly constitutes discrimination? What definition is the district using? Fourth, which personnel in the district gets to decide what is discrimination? Is this a committee decision? Fifth, does the Board of Education review the reports before they are submitted to the DOJ? Sixth, what does the DOJ do with these reports? And how long are they kept on file? Some students are 18 years old, legal adults, and these reports may impact their life opportunities. Seventh, what is the end date for this DOJ presence in Heartland? What does Heartland have to do for the DOJ to end its oversight? Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, how are students educated about what constitutes discrimination? Is there an in-person presentation? And if so, how does the school make sure students who are absent learn this information? I would like Mr. Hughes to hold an informational meeting with the public about the DOJ presence to alleviate fear and confusion in the community. In the last week, I have heard from 3 Heartland parents who fear reporting concerns out of fear that their concerns would be viewed as discrimination. This does not even sound like America. I also want to emphasize that according to the weekly update, all of this monitoring is the result of a social media post of a concern regarding racial discrimination occurring at HHS. How did a social media post turn into such an overreach of government intervention? Why was this not efficiently handled by the school? I hope Mr. Hughes meets with the public about this issue. The community of Heartland deserves more than the vague and sloppy communication sent in the weekly update.
Next up, we have Anne Marie Yarber.
Hello, my name is Anne Marie Yarber, and I'm a freshman at Heartland High School. I'm here today because my safety and the safety of other students is at risk. I would first like to make it clear that I feel no hatred towards any person at my school. I believe that every student should be treated with kindness and compassion. There have been instances at the high school of students using the bathroom opposite of their own biological sex. My older brother experienced this last year when he was in the men's bathroom with a classmate who he had known throughout childhood as being a girl. I have also experienced this. About a month ago, I was walking into the bathroom to change my clothes for cross-country practice at the same time as a person walked out, who, based on face and body structure, I could tell was obviously a biological male. It scares me that had I gone into the bathroom just a minute earlier, I would have been taking my clothes off in the presence of a person who I can only assume has male genitals. Just a couple weeks later, I was walking out of a bathroom stall when I noticed that same person waiting in line with the girls. This is a problem that desperately needs a solution. Not only can non-transgender students be hurt by this, but also transgender students themselves. I can't imagine one of my classmates being harmed simply because boundaries are unclear. One idea that may be suggested is that students who feel uncomfortable should use the bathroom in the office, but this is simply not practical. I can't march across the school to use the office bathroom whenever I need to use it. This issue was not resolved when my brother spoke up about his experience, and it has not been resolved when parents have spoken out. It's sad that I, at 14 years old, should have to come and speak at a meeting in order to protect my dignity and safety, as well as that of my classmates. All I ask for is a solution. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Jeff Scott.
Wow, that's a hard one to follow. Takes a lot of courage to stand up here and say that. But before I start, I also wanted to say that everybody around really undersold themselves. They do even better, more fantastic job than they stood up here and told you about. From the staff to the PTO, Mr. Fuhar does a fantastic job. And the dogs program is absolutely spectacular. And I would encourage all elementary schools to look into that. But tonight I'm here to address the Department of Justice referrals and how the district handles the names and personal information of individuals in the district. Last Thursday, Mr. Hughes let us know in his update that if your student's name is so much as whispered in relation to discrimination, their name and personal information will be referred over to the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney's Office. No proof, no evidence, just a quick, efficient referral to the DOJ. What if they accidentally use the wrong pronoun? What if they file a complaint about what happens in the bathroom? What if they ask a question in history class? Do microaggressions count? What happens with that information? Are they blacklisted from federal student loans, federal grants, federal employees? The truth is, and Mr. Hughes will be the first to admit it, nobody has control over that information after it leaves the district. So tonight I call on the board to provide oversight on these DOJ referrals and not to just sit idly by and let the administration potentially ruin the lives of students. The board should control the policy as it relates to releasing personal information, not Mr. Hughes. Students and parents still have rights in this district. And speaking of rights, last year Governor Whitmer signed a law which requires school districts to remind parents of their rights by posting parents' rights in the boardroom and in the schools. The law requires that little tiny piece of paper behind President Gladbach's head be prominently posted. And I certainly see absolutely no prominence right there. It's funny how the stadium signs don't get delayed and the commemorative plaques honoring administrators and trustees for spending millions of taxpayer dollars don't get delayed, but parents' rights signage seems forgotten. So I had a larger version printed and I'm donating it to the board so that the parents in this room can be reminded each month about their rights. I trust that you will take it from here to make sure that the situation is remedied throughout the district. From the Michigan Constitution, religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. And from the revised school code, it is the natural fundamental right of parents to determine and direct care, teaching, and education for their children. The public schools of the state serve the needs of the students by cooperating with parents. So please, remember who funds these schools. Remember who you represent. And show some respect for the parents of this district by prominently displaying their rights and honoring their students' personal information.
Next, we have Trisha Bessler.
Good evening, board. So most of these people have been up here, have been parents, but I come to you as a taxpayer and I'm concerned about the safety issues in this community, in the school district. I've been hearing from parents from the inside about students speaking up to them. And the advice I'm hearing back from a board member here is the students should tell the principal. How scary would it be to go up to a principal and say, this is happening in the bathroom? I mean, as a young girl, I don't think, you know, your confidence level at that age isn't what it is maybe when you're an adult. So that's scary. That's scary to have to go to a principal and say that. So as adults, I think we need to protect our students, our children in this community. And I did send all of you an email, so I won't make this long. And I thank you for those that did respond back to me. And thank you for taking care of this problem.
Next, we have Kim Berger.
Good evening. My name is Kim Berger. I am a parent and a taxpayer in Heartland School District. Recently, I sent a letter to each of you. Some of you responded, and honestly, your responses were staggering concerning transgender bathroom issues at Heartland High School. For the parents in the audience, it was a short and I think a respectful note, and I'm just going to read it and then I will comment on it. And ask the board to comment on what our policy in this school district is related to appropriate use of bathrooms. Heartland board members, I'm respectfully writing to request you take proactive measures to safeguard our sons and daughters as it relates to restroom usage at the high school. There are numerous reports of trans students using their preferred restroom at school. For the safety and respect for all our kids, please put an end to this. There are reports that many students won't even use the vet restrooms all day for fear of running into a biological male in a girl's restroom and vice versa. Not to mention the increased possibility of sexual abuse that this practice opens up. Stop exposing, indoctrinating, and putting our children at risk by accommodating this woke transgender ideology. As parents and taxpayers, we would not put up with it, period. This isn't a minor request. Let's have a discussion, period. Stop using the equally woke diversity, equity, inclusion ideology as an excuse for allowing and even encouraging this. No one is being excluded or discriminated from using tax-funded restrooms. Please don't make this about discrimination or someone's being disenfranchised. I'm not talking about the gender or transgender ideology. I'm talking about safety in our schools. I have a lot to say about that if anyone wants to talk about it offline, but that's not what I'm asking the school board to do. I'm asking you to keep our bathrooms safe. This young girl, God bless her, what kind of courage it took to stand up here and say that. I don't know about you, but if I would walk into a sports arena or go to work and there was a gentleman in the bathroom while I'm there, it's gonna make me feel pretty uncomfortable. So think about it for our students. I'm sorry, I deviated from my note. Let me finish it. The demand is simple. All students need to use the appropriate restroom based on their biological sex, not the one they prefer to identify with or make up. Trans kids have every opportunity to express the way they want to live. That's fine in their personal lives. I'm not here to attack trans kids, but I don't have to agree with it. And I certainly am not going to subject my kids to it, especially as it relates to bathroom use or sports, but that's a different topic for a different time. At taxpayer-funded schools, please take this issue to heart and not turn a blind eye towards it. This is not an equal rights or discrimination issue. This is a safety issue for our kids. Take proactive action now and make it strong and clear mandate that no biological males allowed in girls' bathrooms or sports, and vice versa. So I'm respectfully submitting this to you. So once again, I would please say, this is not, don't make this a discrimination issue. This is about a safety issue. And here's the part I want to say to the parents that are in the room. The responses I got from some of the school board members, first of all, someone telling me, well, I must have heard something on the internet and repeated it. This is happening in our schools. This isn't hearsay. This is happening. Okay, so that's one. The second one said, well, if you have a problem, go see the principal. If you're okay, we'll wait till our daughters get abused and then we'll take it to that. And then the third one I heard was, it's an administrative issue, not a school board issue. And I heard it's not a superintendent issue. Who's going to have the gonads to stand up and say, I'm going to take on this issue and protect our kids?
Moving on to item 1E, board reports and requests. Ms. Sirkowski, you want to start us off?
Sure. I don't have a lot. I do want to congratulate the fall sports teams for wrapping up their seasons, and for a presentation from our athletic director, I thought it was great how we pointed out that they are student athletes, and the amount of athletes that were received that Heartland letter and that KLA letter just goes to show like how well we're doing, not only on the field, but also in the classrooms. I thought that was important and that he pointed that out, so I appreciated that. The other thing I wanted to share, and Mr. Hughes shares with us kind of news, and the school board was made aware that parent perception survey that they've been taking, the preliminary data, at least out for JK through 4, talks about safety for schools, and in this current year, K through 4 or JK through 4, 97% of the parents strongly agree that their child is safe. And I think that's great. I think a lot of that again falls back to our staff, just kind of some of the new things we've done here involving our new security teams and our police liaison officers. So I thought that was great news. And then I know they're all gone, but well, and not all of them. Thank you, Round staff. What a breath of fresh air it is to see those little people and their little faces and all the great things that they're doing. And I'm sure all the other elementaries are doing that, but it was just so wonderful. So thank you for coming out tonight. I'm all set.
Mr. Kelly?
Thanks, Ms. Clayback. First of all, I want to acknowledge again, Ms. Brisky and Ms. Cheney for their time. I have definitely enjoyed our times with the advocate program that we did adopt for those that aren't familiar with it. So each one of us board members has a school that we're assigned and spend time with. So I just want to highlight some things that positive aspects that are going on right now with farms. The student leadership team collected 380 loaves of bread for gleaners. We heard earlier today Round had over 1,000, so it sounds like our farms team got some work to do here. So I'm gonna see if I can help them. First ever trunk or treat that occurred with Lakes Elementary. It was a great event. I personally was able to participate in that and happened to be on one of the teams that took home best costume for a third place costume award. So we were pretty proud of that with our Wizard of Oz. So I got to play the part of the Munchkins. Pretty excited about that. And sorry for anybody I scared. The sixth grade band took a field trip to the Ann Arbor Symphony. I heard they had a great time. High school students came to farms actually to promote College Day. And then the annual band assembly put on by the high school choir and band. Had a great time with that. The kids are very much enjoying their popcorn Fridays. I think a lot of that is with the PTO, so thank you for that. There was a friendship day that occurred in memory of former teacher Sandy Murphy, so wanted to kind of acknowledge that. Cross country team had a great season this year. We even have some kids that qualified for a race coming up. I believe it's next weekend in Kentucky, so congratulations to them. Also, a personal experience, I got to attend the lock-in, and it was a kind of record turnout this year. Around 400 students. They got to play games, do crafts. They got prizes, pizza, and even some kids got the fortunate privilege of whipping me with some dodgeball. So I'm sure there was some that might be jealous of that opportunity, perhaps. What else do I want to talk about? I think that was it for the highlights. Some upcoming events. We've got Reaching Higher. They're having their graduation this Thursday. So congrats to those kids. And then following week on Tuesday is the Turkey Trot. The students will run a mile. They get to have a DJ and do some celebrations after. So lots of good stuff going on at farms, and hope to continue to hear fellow reports from fellow board members on what's going on with all your schools to highlight with the community. Want to segue a bit to a topic that has obviously come up here this evening, and also I would say, you know, my tenure here on the board, I don't know of any instance where I've received more emails about a particular issue. So I definitely think it's something that needs to be discussed. And to everyone that reached out to either me personally or to fellow board members, I do want to acknowledge your email. It is important. I want to thank you for sharing your perspectives on the topic. My view is that, you know, we need to do a kind of a deeper dive into the bathroom policy and locker room usage policy. I want to make sure that as a district, we are providing the safest possible environment for all of our students, and that I think we can improve in this area. So look forward to having further discussions as a board on this, whether it's in committee or however we move forward on that. And then lastly, want to thank Mr. Hughes for continuing to provide the community with weekly updates. I do think it is a valuable tool that as a district, Mr. Hughes graciously does each week. So I think that, you know, we need to keep this practice going, and I certainly hope that members of the community are reading it and properly digesting it. But I will say that, you know, one item that I do want to highlight, which obviously was touched on here this evening, was the update on the DOJ investigation. Specifically the the item that we as a district must continue to track and report discrimination to the DOJ. And that, you know, I fully support that we do as a district investigate discrimination and that it, you know, it will not be tolerated. I also have concerns though about the alleged incidents, how they're going to be investigated, and you know what, when they will be reported to the DOJ. And I think several parents acknowledged that, and community members this evening. I think we need to make sure that there's equal protection for both the accuser and the accused, and that we have proper checks and balances in place. You know, for example, you know, what happens when we as a district, if we determine that there's been some discrimination that has occurred, what is the students or the family's rights to have an appeal in that process? So I think we need to iron that out. Also, you know, if we decide or judge that an accusation has been deemed false, you know, how do we remedy that? And, you know, how do we ensure that that is not something that gets reported erroneously to the DOJ? And so again, for me, there's a lot more that we need to iron out as a district. And I would say in the interim, I think we should suspend this practice. And at the very least, you know, I would encourage the district to send out a letter to every parent saying that you've read this and that you need to acknowledge it and sign it and return it to the school, because I do think it is something that's very important that parents are understanding that we're doing here. So again, that's my report for this evening. And again, thank you everyone for coming today.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mrs. Montiel.
Thank you. Okay, so there's a lot to get to here. So thank you to the round administrators, Mr. C, the PTO. I think that you guys did an excellent job. Thanks to the students for speaking. They were so cute. All of us were up here, we're like smiling at them the whole time. So hopefully they felt supported because they were amazing. I love that. I love the K kids. I think it's amazing. I think you guys have some really, really good things in your school that other schools can adopt because they're successful. Then when I was there, you guys were taking the leftovers from the lunchroom and you were putting them in bags for kids for the weekend. Like it really great stuff. So good job to all of you. Stats for the student athletes look great. We had a curriculum meeting. Mr. Fitzgerald did a great job letting us know what all the changes were. I support the changes. They're expanding on the trades. They're adding more to it, which I'm really thankful for. Also, during that meeting, I provided Mr. Minsker with a list of books that I wanted to check into, and they're the Brave books. They're Christian-based books that also encourage family. So they're very positive. I think that, you know, just a balance because there are Christian kids that need Christian books and want Christian books. And I think that that would be very beneficial. So hopefully I can hear back on that one because I think it's important. For those of you that are going to say, oh, there are Bibles in the library, according to Mr. Hughes. So this is totally not out of the norm. Also, let's see. Thank you. I love the parents' rights that you brought, Jeff. I think they're going to look splendid hanging on the wall because I think it's important to understand that parents are the forefront to what their students are experiencing in our school. So now let's bring the room down a little bit. I'm not bringing the room down. I'm just addressing things that have been coming to the board because that's what you elected me for. First things first, the Department of Justice. The first time I was in a meeting that I learned of that process, I had a lot of concerns. I asked several questions. This was about 3 months ago. I asked several questions. You know, who at the Department of Justice gets the information? What do they do with it? How long do they keep it? How does this affect the kids in the future? And nobody can answer that question. And so I gave 3 months. I followed up. I still don't have the answers. I'm very disappointed that we, as a school district, are giving the Department of Justice report outs of students that we believe, have done something that we should report to the Department of Justice, but we don't know what they do with the information. And I'm very disappointed in the update that just had a little blurb that said, and your child's name could be reported, because what I feel needs to be done is the district needs to tell the parents that their child could land on a report out that goes to the Department of Justice, so that the parents can get involved with their student and say, listen, Jimmy, this is what can happen to you, and this is why you really need to watch what you say. You do and if the parents know about it, they can help us, right? Because the whole point of all of this is to stop discrimination, stop bullying, stop all of this. But if we hide it from the parents on what's going on, how are they going to help us? They're not. So I really hope that more is said about this, and that I get the answers to my questions about that, because I think it's important. I know that you met with somebody today. That process, I think, was only through June 23. And that's the other thing that I want to know about is, was it formally extended? So if you could give me those answers, that would be great. But I also think that you should let the public know and make a much larger, broader statement about it. And like Greg said, sending it out to the parents and saying, this is what can happen to your child. Because I don't think that telling them at a meeting that you're meeting with the family saying like, well, your child did X, Y, and Z, that anybody listens to anything after that, because most people are mortified. Nobody is encouraging their students to be racist or discriminatory or anything like that. So I think we're missing a big key factor, is that engaging our family members and our parents to help us with this situation. The second thing, and what I feel is very important, is the number of emails that we received and texts and things like that. I don't know if everybody got them, because some of them were just sent to me directly. Not everybody was on them. They were very passionate. A lot of the parents were very passionate about this. You had a student stand up here saying that she has been in a situation where a student of the opposite sex has been in her bathroom. I too want this to stop immediately, because it's not about discrimination. This is about safety. This board is responsible for safety, and anybody sitting up here that thinks that it's safe to let a boy in a bathroom with a female, or vice versa, a girl going into a bathroom with many males, it's not safe. I want to point out a couple of things. I want to point out that as a mother, I've taught my daughter from the age that she can even remember. Don't go with strangers. Don't be left alone with a man or a boy in a closed room. If you feel something, there's something wrong, run away, get away from them. Make sure that you protect yourself. Now we're going to tell them, well, if you have a problem with all of that, you have to go use a different restroom. There is no law that I am aware of, or anything that's been ruled on, that says you have to allow a transgender student to use the bathroom of choice. Please show me a law. You haven't been able to show me a law. You say Elliott Larson Act, but that does not, it's never been ruled upon it at the Michigan Supreme Court. The Supreme Court won't even hear it. The 6th District Court, never, that I know of. So if it has, please show me, because I don't recall that. The other thing I want to point out is that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if a man or a boy went into a girl's bathroom, they were a peeping Tom, a pervert, potential rapist, attacker, a threat to girls. Those people are still around. They're not gone. So if we open this up, if we open this door up and do a case-by-case basis, as you've said, and we say, okay, you can use the bathroom of your choice. You can't control during football games, during sporting events, after school, when all the girls are in, gymnastics over here, and they go in the locker room to change. Little girls unknowingly go in there, and there's somebody in there that chooses to go in there because they identify as the opposite sex. We need to be very clear, and we need to set the tone in this district that we are for safety. And we're sorry it's inconvenient for some students, but there can be a gender neutral bathroom that those students can use, because the majority of the students don't feel comfortable, but yet they're not allowed to say anything, because again, the Department of Justice may find out if they've said something or if they say something wrong. We can't put our students in that position. We can't put the girls or the boys in that position. because both sides we cannot guarantee safety. So I am of an advocate that we stop all actions right now until we can figure this out. And that we assure the parents who wrote to us and the parents that are concerned, that are afraid to write to us because they get yelled down, or, you know, it's cancel culture. I can't be afraid of that, because I feel like if we don't stop this now, it's gonna keep going, and that's when it starts to get bad. So we need to go with what we know. And that's why we created a boys' room, bathroom, a girls' bathroom, a ladies' room, a men's room, girls' locker rooms, and boys' locker rooms, because it's very clear who's supposed to go in those rooms, and we cannot stray from that. So I would like to have more discussion about this. We can have legal input, that's fine, because we should. It's not about discrimination, this is about safety, and that's what this board is supposed to provide to our students. They deserve it, they need it. We got security guards for people that want to come in and hurt them, but what about the ones that we don't know about? So I just encourage everybody to think about that, and there's gonna be more to come about this, and again, I want acknowledgement that we're gonna stop the practices until we figure this out. We're gonna stop the practices until we figure this out. So that's what I'd like to return to. Mr. Bobolski?
Thank you, Megan. I spent some time over at Lakes Elementary and also at the high school this past week. And I had a great conversation with Melissa Frazier over at Lakes, and looking at some of the activities and things that have gone on over there. And Lakes partnered with Farms, as Mr. Keller said, for a joint trunk or treat event. And they also had a Halloween costume parade. A lot of parents showed up for that. A lot of kids had fun, and it was a great event, really was. And unfortunately, now we're going to have to deal with Mr. Keller's bragging rights for the next year about his Munchkin costume. So I'll brace for that. But the HEA annual district-wide coat drive was held, and Lakes, little old Lakes, collected 253 items, the most they've ever collected. That is really stellar. And when I was over there this past week, I got to find out what 800 plus loaves of bread look like. They had a dough for donations bread drive for Gleaners Food Bank, and had over 800 loaves of bread for Gleaners. That's pretty impressive. And some of the young students walking the halls just wanted me to look and say, hey, what do you think of our 800 loaves of bread? And I said, yeah, that looks pretty good. Where's the butter and olive oil? Okay. But yeah, it was quite impressive. This morning, I had a chance to meet over at the high school with Principal Fitzgerald, Assistant Principals J.D. Wheeler, Tom Urich, and the Dean of Students, Jessica Gus. One of the things we did discuss was the subject that came up here tonight, and we talked a little bit about boys in girls' restrooms and locker rooms and such. And first of all, I just want to say that I truly felt some very, very good vibes or feedback from the four of them regarding their thoughts on safety. And they were quite sincere in letting me know that there hasn't been any violent incidents yet. And I believe that there haven't been. But also the fact that, yes, there have been incidents where maybe a boy has gone into the girls' locker room or restroom, and that's something that we do need to address. But also, during our meeting, we had a quick little review of some of the highlights going on at the high school right now. During college application week, 333 seniors began the process of applying to a post-secondary program. That's pretty good. An additional, and this is something that really is near and dear to my heart, an additional 30 students expressed an interest in the skilled trades and signed up to attend an apprenticeship presentation over at WCC for their skilled trades field trip. And that's great. And that's something that we really need to expand on here, providing information on things other than college. And the seniors have completed a combined total of 869 college applications. And many seniors have already been accepted to a school that they applied to. Those numbers continue to grow. So I'm very happy to see all of that academic success over at the high school. It's been a great job by the high school staff there. And also too, for those of you parents out there, that every parent here knows that parenting is hard, it's difficult. Sometimes we find out that we're not the best at it. And there is a series of workshops that the LESA has put together. And you can attend these workshops via Zoom and do it anonymously. But they're for various topics. In fact, they just had one earlier this week dealing with child anxiety. But they have a number of upcoming little presentations dealing with things like school avoidance, effects of screen time, building your child's confidence, bullying, the ABCs of substance abuse and vaping. Lots of good stuff, a lot of good tips and tricks for parents that are kind of wondering and scratching their head, what do I do now? Well, there are programs out there for you, and I highly recommend that you take advantage of them. And again, like I said, you can join those anonymously via Zoom, and I think they're very, very worthwhile. So please keep that in mind. And there's information about it on the LESA website, and I believe we might have some information on our website, although don't hold me to that, I'll check. But good stuff for parents. Next, I'd like to share my disappointment with the fact that after all of the emails that we received, after all of the texts, after all of the phone calls and such, that we did not put as a discussion item the issue of what is happening with and the threat of what will happen, thanks to the state, with boys and girls restrooms and locker rooms. This is a big issue. This is not an issue we need to form a committee on. We need to come up with a policy, and we need to come up with it quick. The very fact that we had someone of her age come up here and speak about that, that should be a big warning sign for all parents. And I can tell you that we're doing what we can up here. We've done well with security. We've done well with talking to our principals and staff. But we need a policy, and that's what we were elected for. We don't need to have deep discussions or anything on that. We need to get together on this now. That's what we were elected to do. That's what we will do. Sometimes you have to make decisions that are very, very tough, and sometimes it involves a lot of input, not just from parents, but also from legal sources and such. But there are things we can do. I do know for a fact that other districts have come up with policies. We will be looking at some of those, and we will have something very, very soon for that. It really is a shame that we have to worry about this, but what really troubles me is I was watching a video on YouTube about some Chinese students. They were about 10 or 11. And what they had to do in their class assignment, they were given little tablets, and on these tablets, 3-digit numbers, about 25 of them, were scrolling in these tablets. And they weren't allowed to use pen or pencil or calculators, and you could see their minds just going, and they were using their hands and their figures. It was amazing what they were doing, really was. And unfortunately, 2023 in America, we can't figure out which bathroom to use. Well, we need to figure that out quickly, very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting Stan, who is our resource officer at Village and Creekside. Stan has I believe, a social media following, and he's probably had people ask for his autograph. When I got to meet him, you can just tell the enthusiasm he has for being in that building every day when, you know, he may not feel like going to work, but when he knows all the smiling faces waiting for him, he couldn't wait to pull out his phone and show me a photo that a student had taken. He and a student had photo together, and they had written a thank you card. So it's great to see these relationships we're building. It's making a difference for our kids, our staff. So go Stan. Congratulations to all of our student athletes. Always great to hear their successes, both, you know, in sports and then in academics. The last thing I have is I would just like to thank the public for the tremendous support that the Heartland High School Pantry has received. We put out a big push to social media, to the community, to help us supply food and toiletry items to some of our students that have some food insecurity, and we make sure that they have something to put in their bellies every week. They get a bag home every week. So thank you to everyone who has donated. If you don't know what I'm talking about or you want to help, always looking for donations. It is a completely donation-based food pantry. The HEA has generously donated. We've had parents in the district have donated. So without all of the community coming together, we couldn't provide this for our students. So I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you, Mr. Strong. Mrs. Coleman?
You have nothing to say about the safety of the bathrooms? Since our last meeting, I had the pleasure of joining in a few different community events and community groups. Excuse me, I have the floor. Let's see, a few weeks ago, the Optimist Club hosted the Respect the Law breakfast. It's an event that came back. I think there was a short hiatus for this, but it came back and it was well attended. It's a great opportunity to express thanks and gratitude for the relationships that we have with the local law enforcement. And obviously in the last year or so, we've been able to expand that relationship. There were folks here, obviously from the school district, from the Optimist Club, from Cheryl Stockwell. So it was a nice community event to bring people together to thank those officers for the work that they do. Let's see, one meeting that I get to attend and that I look forward to every month is the DPAC meeting. That's the District Parent Action Committee or District PTO group. There's a representative from each school PTO that comes to that. And we got to see some of those or hear from some of those amazing people today. They do really incredible work for our kids. They, the work that they do, the money that they raise goes to help a variety of things like Greg had talked about earlier. There's just a lot of great things that these amazing people do. They give up their time and it's like a giant, what I call a giant warm fuzzy when I go into that room because I get to hear the excitement, passion that these people have for our kids. So thank you to all the PTOs, all the PTO board members and those volunteers that help make those events happen. Thank you for that. Another meeting that I look forward to, this one is only every other month, is the Senior Center Advisory Board. This is a great group of people. They do so much with so very little. They have to go out of their way to find funding, to secure grants, to do fundraising. They put on a variety of events. They host a bunch of different services like flu shots, things like that, different clinics that they do. So it's a community service for our seniors as well as a way to what do I want to say, to provide entertainment and community, a sense of community for maybe seniors who are who don't get out as often as they should otherwise. So Kim Knarski and her team do an outstanding job with making miracles out of the small budget they have. Let's see. The last item I have is, so it's kind of timely that Round Elementary was here today because as you might have seen in social media, one of our teachers, Michelle Vincent, who spoke tonight with the K Kids, formerly the Kindness Club, she was recognized, nominated by a parent, and was recognized for her work with our students. And it's WNIC, I think it's called, is it the Teacher of the Week? I think they do this every week. They provided her a $100 gift card spent at Kroger on behalf of the club. And to encourage more of the activities that she's been doing with the kids. On the certificate that she received, it says for outstanding contributions and dedication to the students of HCS, which I can personally vouch for. 3 of my kids, we had the pleasure of being in her classroom, kindergarten and third. Sorry. She's an amazing teacher who does amazing things with kids. And she's one thing that she always says is that her kids, once a Vincent kid, always a Vincent kid. Thank you for that.
Alrighty. Couple of things from me. I did want to say congrats to Cindy Shaw being the volunteer of the year recipients. Thank you for all that you do for the community. I know your involvement in various organizations, certainly over at the main campus of the high school and so on and so forth. Thank you for all that you do. I want to touch quickly on an all-district meeting that 4 of us had the opportunity to attend. So every couple of months, all of the districts in Livingston County get together and we have dinner together. All of the school boards in the county. We learn from each other. We get to have some great conversation, and then there's oftentimes some educational components to that to say where we are in various respects as a county. And so one thing that I was really proud of is that they spoke a lot about Heartland Special Education Program and how some of that modeling some of that throughout the county. It was really beneficial. And so thank you to all of those teachers, staff, administrators, parents, students that participate in that, because it's being noticed throughout the entire county. They speak very, very highly of what we're able to do with that student population. And that's something to be proud of. They openly spoke about Heartland in front of every other district. So that was really cool to hear. It was really awesome to see from a fruition standpoint, kind of see the hard work that our folks do day in and day out. So thank you on that. 2 last topics is thank you for all your parent emails. I am not going unnoticed from the emails, and I should have responded either via telephone or email to everyone. But your concerns in regards to the genders in the bathrooms is actually, for those of you that don't know, about 4 months ago, we formed a safety committee, and that safety committee, part of the work with the safety committee that came out of the safety committee obviously was the school resource officers. And so I've received information and kind of questions and or curiosities from 2 board members that committee will then look into and follow up on. And so there's work to be done. It's a very complex situation. It's not an easy situation. And if we're gonna do it, if we're gonna do something as a district, we have to do it right. And we can't make decisions out of the blue that can't be implemented. I think that, you know, a policy on paper is great, but if we can't implement things, that's where it gets hard for administrators. And so just taking all of that into consideration and having some fruitful meetings in that committee to then have a recommendation to the rest of the board. And again, for those of you that are not on the safety committee, please continue to send your questions because we'll try and collate those into a fashion by which we can get legal counsel to weigh in and so on and so forth. DOJ, I think we're at a point probably from a DOJ standpoint, and I appreciate all of the questions. So likely hold a closed session here soon. And so I will work with Mr. Hughes to get something scheduled with Travis. And then, I will connect with Mrs. Yarber on your questions. I think I wrote them all down, but we'll get some more information out. We'll get some answers to you all as parents. And then I have some digging to do with some, a note that's a parent sent me today. And so, we will circle back on that topic. Obviously very important, as you all know, this is an active kind of item occurring in our district, and we need to be cognizant of that. We also need to be cognizant of future ramifications, obviously ensuring that our students, our parents are aware, and that we're looping parents in early. And so, you know, no one needs to find out that Johnny got in trouble 3 weeks ago, 4 months down the road. So looping parents in early, looping them in on that, and then moving forward. I would like to request, perhaps this has never been done, but this is what it is. Perhaps we could have a drive here at the next board meeting for our pantry. I will get something else, but perhaps I'd like to collect a drive for those students in our pantry, whether that be toiletries or something else. So everyone take a look out before you come to the next board meeting, and we will collect for those individuals as well. I don't think we've ever done that, but hey, we've never done a lot of things, so we'll continue on in that fashion. Moving forward, item 2A, bus replacement from the 2020 bond.
Megan, do you mind before we move forward, if I can add one more thing? Because I was remiss, I didn't say, you should be so proud of your daughter for coming up here and speaking out, because that was very brave and it was an excellent speech. It hit me. So thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that.
I hate to embarrass her, but she was also the recipient, and she can correct us, but she won our oratorical contest last year. Is that correct, Mrs. Yarber? And so, speaking obviously on a different topic, but using her skills in different respects, and got to take her family to a nice presentation and celebrate that up through kind of the Regional Optimist Club. All right, item 2A.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, approves the bus replacement purchase as presented.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mrs. Costa. Any discussion?
Yeah, so I'd like to, I guess, first acknowledge, I'm sensitive to the fact that the community did vote in favor of a bond package, and thank you for doing that. The package did include, I believe, $4.1 million to be allocated towards the purchase of new buses over 5 years or so, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Marino, please correct me. Speaking with Rachel, the budget for this year was $600,000. And that would be for buses, 6 buses, in fact, that would get put in place for the next school year, so 24-25. I do have a concern that the proposal today is almost 50% higher than what was in the actual budget itself. And I know that increases in purchases to the bond is not something new. It's not the result of an action from the district or anything that the district can frankly control. But I do have some concerns there, and I was able to speak with Mr. Hughes and Mr. Marino. And I guess I'll just say that, frankly, I wasn't convinced that we can't find a more financially responsible option in this case. And one example I'll give is that on the bus replacement schedule that was in the packet, there's actually 9 spare buses, which is actually a different category of bus than what we would use for extra buses for things like field trips, athletic events. So and then we have buses that are specifically for the 41 or 42 routes, it looks like. And So that, that's approximately 20% extra buses that we have, and granted, we do need some for things that, scheduled maintenance. The occasional breakdown from a bus that we obviously don't plan or don't expect to see. But, in my view, I think that that's a little bit excessive. And I would like to see us start to whittle that down and, trying to be a good financial steward for the taxpayers of this community. I would like to move that we include a maximum expenditure of $600,000 towards the purchase of the additional buses. That way we stay within the budget that we had signed up for when we put that bond package in front of the taxpayer.
And that's why I nominated you for treasurer initially. Greg talked to me about this, and I agree, if we put a budget out there, it wasn't that long ago, and it's 50% higher. I think a little bit of creep is okay, but 50% higher early on. We just want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible, so I support what he said, that we need to reduce.
And that, I have to ask, the 50% increase, how was that justified? What caused that?
Let me, hold on, we'll get to the discussion on that. I want to make sure that we capture the motion that Greg just made. So Greg made a motion to put a cap of $600 on the expense, or 600,000, yes, we want to get far.
At the end of it.
Might get a tank of gas for $600, $600,000, and that was seconded and supported by Mrs. Blondeel.
Yes.
Discussion on that topic. Sorry, Mr. Rogoski, I wanted to be sure we captured that.
Thank you.
That's fine. But it does leave me with a little bit of pause as to, and as Mrs. Blondeel was saying, of course, there's always, additional costs that come from just time itself over a certain period, but 50%, I hope we're not just taking money that we're getting and just using it, hey, while it's here, let's just take it and run with it. I'd like a little bit of an explanation as to why we have a 50% increase.
Mr. Hughes, can you speak to that?
Yep, I can. We do use the Michigan Bus Purchasing Program through the MSBO. They go out yearly and they bid all of the buses, and almost every school district in the state of Michigan purchase buses through this process. In other words, we get the best deal we're going to find on a bus. And so when we first started the process of the bond, I think we estimated $100,000 to $110,000 a bus. We know that a truck today, if you buy a F-250, let's say, it's gone from 54,000 to well over 80,000 in the last 4 years. So the reality is that the cost of doing business and purchasing is much higher. This is a competitive bid. If we don't purchase these buses and sign up to purchase these buses by, I believe it was December 18th or 13th, December 13th, then they're going to rebid and the new prices are going to come on these buses. As we shared with you in the outline of the bus replacement schedule, this is our replacement schedule so that we keep the buses on the road. And so that's probably more information than you asked for, but that's the reality of.
No, I'm glad you answered that question. Yeah. And I do realize that over the course of time, inflation takes its ugly toll. When was this originally budgeted though? How many years ago?
Yep, the answer to that is we budgeted for 41 buses, $4.1 million when we originally submitted our 2020 bond app. So we submitted in 2019, and that bond app showed at the time about $100,000 a bus. We estimated it'd be more than that, but over the life of the bond purchasing, we get as many of the 41 as possible. Now, the state law doesn't require you to buy the 41. That was our number we put on it. So we're going to try to buy as many buses as we can. So if if we spend this money, as, Greg, I hope it's okay to talk about our conversation or not. As I said to Mr. Keller, I don't think you can look at the $600,000 budgeted for this year as a budget number. It's what was in the bond. And what's in the bond is $1.4 million left to purchase buses. So our plan is to purchase these buses, get them here for next year. Remember, they don't come until summertime for next year. Make sure we have those buses, and then we start looking at how do we reduce routes? Now, this is a big conversation the board years ago had on ride time on a bus. And that's why we went to 42 universal routes to limit the number of minutes on the bus for students. In order to reduce routes, we're gonna have to probably increase ride time. But we know we have to reduce routes and reduce the number of buses needing to go on the road in order, one, to even get drivers, because we're struggling with getting drivers. To be honest with you, we had to pull a sub driver that has another job in the district. We had to actually, that person had to stop driving the bus so we could get someone else because they were exhausted. Because we're trying to run our fleet with people that are doing other jobs in the district to make sure that the parents are accepting of the fact we're trying to get their kids to and from school every day. And so we're going to look at reroutes. How can we reduce the number of routes that we have, which means reducing the number of buses needed, start selling off some of the older buses. You can look at about 9 years on a school bus. And then once it starts getting into the heavy maintenance category, it starts costing you more and more money. I think we did a number, I think I shared with you, Greg, our oldest buses that we want to get rid of have cost us not only the cost of the bus, but over $30,000 on average per bus to keep it on the road over the time in which it's been on our fleet. We deal with really tough roads. We do a lot of mileage. That's even rotating the buses 1 year from doing our long routes up north to our short routes here. So all of this coming together says we need to keep our fleet in top-notch shape so that we can keep running it. We understand we got to reduce. As I said to Mr. Keller, Matt and I said, we understand we're going to reduce. And so over the next couple of years, we're going to be looking at what those options are to reduce that number. And that'll come down.
What about the spare buses? How often do those run? How often are those used? Because Mr. Kelly, you said there were what, 9 according to this?
Yeah. There's no one day that I can tell you every day so many are used. One day you might have 4 of them are in the shop getting worked on. One day you might have 4 of them on field trips, but those 4 field trips require 8 buses, or it just could, who knows? Or if you dwindle down to where you just have a minimal number, then if a bus, you send all those out, there's some in the shop, and a bus breaks down, a red light goes out, you can't drive that bus. It's got to stop immediately. We've got to send the bus out there. So yeah, we've been heavy. We said to Mr. Kelly, yeah, we've been pretty good on the number of backup buses we have, but we understand we're going to have to start reducing that. What I'm saying to you as a board is I don't think the time is this year to limit us from purchasing the buses we need on our schedule. We can move the schedule forward, and then we'll continue to work on a plan. We know we've got $4.1 million to spend on buses. If we only have 600,000 next year, then guess what? Next year, maybe we only buy 5 buses. And there is another component that's going to help us, as we shared with Mr. Keller. This year, the state created a categorical. And in the categorical, they provided money to school districts for transportation needs. Now, some of that can be attributed to higher salaries for the drivers. Some could be for other things, but we could also, as a board, say we're going to use 250,000 of that this year. We anticipate about $370,000 coming into this categorical this year. We can set that money aside, say $250,000 of it, and say we're going to also use that to offset the bus costs in the future on top of what we have left. So we still can keep a schedule, reduce the fleet, and keep moving forward and making sure we have buses that are safe every day.
Has there been any investigation into leasing buses as opposed to owning them outright?
We have not. We
Okay.
did years ago, I think Matt said, and it was cost prohibitive when you looked at purchasing a bus. But then again, I don't know what lease rates are today versus, you know, on $150,000 machine versus $100,000 machine years ago. When we looked at it, I'm sure lease costs at least picked up with that, but we haven't looked in that.
The categorical money by the state. I'm so sorry. The categorical money by the state, can that be transitioned? So you know how the safety money, for example, we had to spend by a certain time frame this year, that categorical money can push forward?
Yeah, the categorical money could, from what I understand from Rachel, and she's not here unfortunately, is that it can be pushed out, but if it can't, if we looked into it and they say you can't, you gotta use it on this year, we could use that on general fund costs like salaries and whatnot, and then take general fund money and set that aside. So there's a way to do it and still have your money. Does that make sense? But I think it can be saved for a year out. I think it has to be spent by 2025 when they give it to you in this school year, I think, but don't quote me on that.
Mr. Keller, is your concern in this year or in the plan extending up to 29? From an expense standpoint?
Well, looking long-term, obviously is my concern. I think, again, and I'm hearing, you know, there's a lot of questions perhaps that still need to be answered, and so I think it wouldn't be prudent at this time for us to go ahead and buy all those buses in one shot. And, you know, with the intent of the categorical money being towards drivers, I think if we as a district decide to use that for equipment and not salaries and other benefits, then it will put us at an already, you know, a disadvantage potentially in getting drivers, which we're already having difficulty getting. And so if the other districts aren't doing that, then, you know, that's one of my concerns. And again, I didn't hear anything to prove to me, and again, I'm one person on this board, that having 10 spares, which is what according to this replacement schedule that I'm looking at has for next year, that we need all 10 of those, and that we can't safely and efficiently still maintain our current fleet and routes and get the kids back forth safely to and from the school and home and athletic events. I think we can do all that and still stay in our budget, because I don't want to see us jeopardize other areas where this bond money could be applied, because we already hear that we've got lots of other issues with projects with cost overruns. So I don't see an absolute need at this time to make the additional investment in new buses beyond the 600,000 that we had originally planned.
And one last question too, with the spares, are we looking to purchase brand new spares as well with this?
No, we rotate out.
Okay.
The older ones are the spares, the newer ones are on the road.
Okay.
But
Can I speak to that?
yeah, absolutely. Come on.
So with regard to the spares, I want you guys to look at that chart I gave you outlined to 2029. So we only have 9 spares, okay, currently in our fleet. As part of my letter, I said for next year, we're going to look at reducing our numbers due to enrollment and due to our routes and due to our lack of drivers, unfortunately. And so by doing that, reducing my routes, it's a Excel spreadsheet calculation, our spares increased by 1. At the end of the day, I'm not going to just go sell a bus, you know, that type of thing for next year, because honestly, I don't know where routing is going to be. We do routing over the summer. And so if for some reason our ride times get to be too high, or we have too many kids on a bus, I need that extra bus per se to go back to 42 routes. So that year, 24, 25, I'm reducing to 41 routes with anticipation that we're not going to have enough drivers, really. So by doing that, that increases our spare by 1. Okay. If you look to 25, 26, we are looking to reduce our routes down to 40. Again, we're reducing our bus numbers because of efficiencies and things like that. And if you look down to buy and sell, we're looking to only buy 7 buses. Potentially, we were looking to buy 9. But as through conversation with Mr. Hughes and Mrs. Boyes, financially, buses are $147,000 right now. When I first started in this district, I was buying them at 90,000. And last year we bought them at 117,000, 120,000, right around that time. So it keeps increasing. In terms of spares, we do keep 9 spares, and we keep 9 spares because we have 41 routes. It's math. Doug, our head mechanic, may have 4 to 5 buses in the garage. He may have to send one to the manufacturer due to warranty issues. At the end of the day, when it comes to spares, anytime, as Mr. Hughes said, anytime we have a mechanical failure of a door, red light burns out, which happens going down our dirt roads very often, unfortunately, we may have to send a spare out. So potentially we have had to use all our spares, given the situation. The other one is we are sending field trip buses out also for athletics. When things were good and hopefully we're getting back to the days of field trips, we send 2 buses out for a building field trip, and we send 5 buses out for an athletic trip. We might have to send a spare to go rescue that bus, which hopefully doesn't happen far away, to pick up those kids and bring them back to the district. So while it seems a little top heavy, I will tell you they are needed, and they are definitely a blessing to have. And basically we want to make sure that kids get to and from school in a timely fashion in a safe manner. So does that help? Sorry.
Yeah.
Long-winded answer, sorry.
I think my preference would be long-term, and this is a different discussion, probably not for today. My preference would be to push some of these 26, 27 general fund into the categorical of the bond, so that then, we talk about a safety cushion from our general fund balance. I don't want that to get below, 15% or whatever we're looking at that 3rd year. I guess long-term, when you're talking about strategic planning, I'd rather actually bump it so that the category, so we can take advantage of the state funding categoricals, we take advantage of the pricing, and then actually level it out in 26, 27, 27, 28, because the price is gonna be Lord knows where.
So I just have a couple questions, if you don't mind, and I like that idea, and I agree. So how many miles are on a bus after 9 or 10 years?
Roughly 130,000.
Really?
Yep, we drive a lot of miles. I've been basically the moon and back if I added up all the drivers over the course of the year and things like that. So they do drive quite a bit. We do rotate our spares. We do rotate out our routes to make sure that we balance them. Our head mechanic, Doug, does a fabulous job on those. And making sure that, we balance them as best as possible. Some drivers would love to have the new bus every year, but unfortunately we have to balance that. So.
Are there seat belts for every student?
There is not.
Okay,
Nope.
because I remember bouncing around in the back.
So
I just wondered if
yep.
they still had that fun.
No, compartmentalization is still the safest form of travel on a school bus.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yep.
Good information, thank you very much.
So, sorry, Matt, just a quick question. So 2019-20, we had 43 routes and 8 service spares. Again, not talking about athletics and trips. So how many times did we have a shortage?
Never. If we have spares.
Correct. So you had 8 spares and you in fact had 43 routes, right? So more than we'll have today or in the future. So technically we have 2 less routes, yet we'll need 2 more spares. I guess that's where, again, I'm.
Correct, and I don't disagree with you, but from
that, and I would submit that we can take action now.
From year to year, though, our routes may change. And so the 43 routes was needed at the time when enrollment was at a certain level. And sometimes it's dictated by enrollment at a particular building. So we don't necessarily have the same amount of buses for, say, a village and around. So we might have to adjust routes. Village actually had the most buses at their parking lot 3 years ago. That has changed due to as kids move in and out. And so we have to be able to fluctuate that summer. And as you can see from the time frame for purchasing a bus, it takes over a year to even get one. And so we do hop around a little bit, but we've been seeing the trend decrease. And that's why in my plan, I'm outlining the next few years that we're going to start moving them out. So enrollment has shown that we can start doing that. The other reason for the 6 is I'm trying to get rid of, I call them, well, I don't call them that, that's what they are. Max Force engines that are in these 6 that have not been very reliable. International has moved to a Cummins engine, which is much more reliable. These are the last of those engines, which is kind of something we want to do before they get too old, because then we start getting into the maintenance cost of those buses jumping significantly on engine repairs, which we have not, knock on wood, had to do on those. So these are the last of those type of engines. So.
And then I guess just one other thing for the board, there was, I guess, some potential to, I guess, look at newer used buses. And I just think there's a lot of things that we need to explore before we just, jump into the pool and spend 50% more on our budget. So I'm urging the rest of the board to take that under consideration when you vote.
One last thing from me is, we don't make this recommendation lightly. Matt's been doing this a long time. We've been running buses a long time. We run 93 square miles every day on roads that you drive and you know what they're like. And we have to have dependable bus service, and we have to have dependable transportation and buses on the road. So we are recommending that you adopt this as presented. Thank you.
All right, moving forward. Voting on the motion to cap our bus purchase at an expenditure of $600,000 for this year. And then we'll move forward from that. Mr. Gomeleski.
I think there's a lot of good questions that need to be answered. However, I will go ahead and say yes.
Yes, we can. Okay. Mrs. Shaw? No. Mrs. Coleman?
No.
Mr. Costa?
Well, I struggle with putting a dollar amount cap on when the price of buses are gonna fluctuate year to year. I'd hate to kind of pigeonhole us into some spots, so my vote is no.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Bondiel?
They talked me into it. I don't feel like we should put a cap on it.
Are you
Just to clarify, it's for this year only. That's the resolution. That's for this year.
Mrs. Bondiel?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. And I'm a no. We're going to move to the original recommended action. That was motioned by Mrs. Coleman and supported by Mr. Costa. Any discussion on the original action to approve the bus replacement purchase as presented?
I do have a question about that. So are we going to purchase buses next year, or is this the buses we're gonna purchase and it's gonna carry us for next year?
Purchasing them, we have to make a purchase now. We pay it when they come in the summer and they're ready to go for the new year.
Okay, so they'll be here next year.
Yep.
And then is there any, like, I wasn't able to really follow, it was a great chart, man. Don't get me wrong, I didn't have time to look at all the thing. So then the year after that, is there buses on the agenda to purchase more buses do we purchase buses every year?
Yeah,
we do.
and so that was my recommendation, that maybe we take a look at the longer.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not a vote for the table today, but take
Right,
a longer at the
but I
longer
just needed to
strategy.
know,
and
yeah.
Actually where we pull the funding from, especially if there's state funding that we can take advantage of and we're not taking out of our general fund.
Right. And it was a thing.
Okay, any additional discussion on the original motion? Big tongue tie for the end. No. Mr. Kogaleski on the original motion.
I abstain.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
No.
Mrs. Blondell?
I'm gonna say yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes.
That would be a 4-2-1 abstention, right?
Yes. One, two, 5-1. 5-1-1. Yeah,
5-1-1, got it.
is that how we report it?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, item 3A, moving on to discussion items, excuse me, item 3A, 24-25 high school curriculum guide. Dave?
I can start. This should be way smoother than the bus conversation. We, every year we come to you this month's board meeting to talk about the curriculum changes to the high school. I'll have James, why don't you come up? Gotta give kudos to James and his staff. Every year they look to try to bump up achievement, bump up pathways for students. And he did a great job of outlining this in his document to make it easy to understand. We met with the curriculum subcommittee. So the three of you can add to that conversation about what our additions are going to be. A vast majority of it is adding pathways for students, increasing things that they can take to go higher in certain subject areas, and make achievement even more beneficial for our students. So you have it in front of you, we can answer any questions, and James is here to also answer.
I'll just start with, I just want to say thank you for the time and effort put into laying out not only what the changes are, but the rationale behind them. And then obviously answering all of our questions in the meeting. It was very helpful. And I'm sorry I had to leave a couple minutes early from that meeting, but I appreciate the discussion and all the information behind it.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time and support.
I'd like to say too, yeah, thank you for doing that. Just in case anyone has any question about it, and I'm talking at a very high level here, I'm not getting into the meat of every little change, but there's nothing in this that does anything to, and we talked about this in our meeting, there's nothing that is there to kind of dumb down curriculum, but in fact enhance it, correct?
Correct.
Enhanced finance knowledge. I think all of our students would probably will benefit from that.
I do have a lot of questions, but in the interest of time, since this is a discussion, I'll just call you.
Thank you.
How's that?
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Anything else on that item?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Item 3B, international travel proposal for the summer of 2025. We're getting a head start on this.
All right, so you remember last year, Mrs. Zabel and Ms. Haroff came and proposed the trip that they're taking this year. Well, I forget, where are you going again this year?
Yeah, so.
Panama, yeah.
Yeah, June will be heading to Panama.
So this trip is proposed for the following summer.
Yes.
And so I asked them to come and briefly explain it to you. You have the paperwork there with the itinerary. And so I think Jane said you got 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we're right.
All right, good.
So I spoke to you last year about our company that we chose, EF, and all of its benefits. And so we're going to continue with this company. But the purpose of proposing this trip to you now is because I wanted to bring the French program into the trip. So it's going to be a French-Spanish combination. I thought it was a pretty neat thing, especially with Kathy Haroff being our only French teacher currently. I thought it'd be a good way to combine our forces and encourage kids to keep going forward, especially at the higher level. So that's what we have in front of you. So it's a combination to France and Spain. Quickly, the price is expensive, and that's why we wanted to get this out to the parents quickly so that they could have many months to pay. We're hoping to have 20 French students, maybe 25 Spanish students on the trip. Travel would be round trip from Detroit. There'll be travel by motor coach and also high-speed trains, which I thought would be a great experience for the kids as well, especially going between France and Spain. as before, breakfast and dinners are included. We'll have walking tours, seeing tours, and I wanted to have Kathy give you just a quick minute or so about, we did France together as well, so I kind of wanted her to just tell you a little bit about what they'll be seeing in France.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about this, really sort of bringing the language students, sort of Spanish and the French students together to sort of help each other out in these different venues. So in France, we'd be there for about 3 days. So they travel overnight. First day is sort of a walking tour of Paris. Unfortunately, we can't actually visit Notre Dame, but we can sort of see the restoration taking place. There's a chance for the students to do an optional Versailles trip the next day. Amy and I have been talking a lot about options for students who don't want to do that. Sort of putting chaperones in charge of maybe doing a tour of the catacombs or taking students to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Just sort of getting to see France for about 3 days. And again, we are down to sort of 5 sections of French and like 3.5 teachers of Spanish teachers. So we're looking to really just combine the experiences and letting the students sort of get to sort of lean on each other and really just sort of experience dual cultures for sort of one trip, which I think will be amazing.
So we're just excited to bring this forth again. Also, with your blessing, like I did last year, I wanted to go ahead and start the parent meeting. We wanted to have the meeting at the end of this month. So that would give parents time to look at that, give them at least 18 months to pay for the trip. And also students be able to ask for a Christmas gift to like help with, fund their trip. If that would be okay, I'd like to schedule that. And then if the board decides it's not in our best interest to travel, then those parents would not lose any type of money because that's part of EF's policy. Once the board gives approval, then non-refundable action will go into place. So if that be okay, that's all we want to talk to you about tonight. We're excited about it. Thanks for listening.
We took the kids to Paris in 2018 and it was pretty amazing. And then we had a trip planned in 2020 and of course COVID shut that down and we tried to postpone it and it just didn't work. And there's just something so much about taking kids outside of Heartland and allowing them to use their language skills, really understand the culture of a different country. And then we're excited about having dual languages. So they, the French students can help the Spanish kids in France and vice versa, in those sort of French speaking countries and really sort of coalesce as a group of Heartland High School ambassadors, really. So we're pumped about it. We hope you are too.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, last time this was presented to us, did a wonderful job, great little dog and pony, it was great, wonderful. I'm all for it from what I'm hearing right now, but we haven't heard anything from any of the students that went on this last trip.
So Panama will be happening this summer, in June. If you wanted to hear comments about previous trips, I'd have to grab some alumni from our last trip on 2019.
No, what I'm saying is it would be nice to follow up and have the students come to the board and kind
absolutely.
of tell us about their experience.
100%.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We will make sure, I'm sure we'll have plenty.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank both of you for offering this opportunity for those students. What an amazing thing that they have this chance they get to do, and to be with obviously teachers and staff and safe people. That's a great thing. So thank you for doing that with kids.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mimic the same thing. I think it's great that you guys do that because I know it's a lot.
It is.
So thank you for doing that. I don't know if I.
Thank you so much.
Well, this
Many of us
doesn't,
up here wouldn't have the courage to do that.
It's a lot of teenagers in a very close quarters for a long time. Yes, we've got it.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm not hearing any issues. Let them go and have their parent meeting.
We'll bring it back. Yeah.
They can have their parent meeting. No, they need to, yeah. All right. I think so.
You guys know you can have the parent meeting, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 4A, future meetings, December 18th, right here, 6:30 PM. And then we have on January 15th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. Any informational items any of you would like to share? Next Tuesday, so next week is Thanksgiving, just realized that today. And next Tuesday, all day, is the Optimist Club Adopt a Family fundraiser at Mackles. So if anyone is hungry, please go to Mackles and just mention the Adopt a Family program, and they are fantastic. They give us a percentage of those to support our students in that program. And so shout out to that. Thank you to all of the families, teams, everyone that's participating in that program. It's just pretty tremendous. And that's all I have. Any additional information items? All right, we are adjourned. Any of you raise-
Hey, we're getting over ya. I like the channel. No, did you find it hanging on the, I'm like.